Stephen Interviews You. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Stephen Interviews You. This is episode number 20, and this is a series where I sit down and have a good chat with a special guest, and his name would be, introduce yourself.
Yep, Phillip Price. You can call me Professor WildUte if you like, WildUte or Phillip. I don't care either way. I go by them all.
Uh, Welcome to the show, WildUte. I really appreciate it. And so let's get started here. Uh, Basically, your backstory. How did it all begin for you? How did you become a sports fan in general? Take me through what happened there.
Man, so I remember when I was little, like less than 10 years old, I was playing Little League sports, Little League football, basketball. But my favorite thing to do was watch college game day on Saturday mornings. I would always try to wake up before my sisters to watch college game day. And I loved Lee Corso. I loved all the pomp that went into college game day. I loved all the highlights, and that really for me was better than cartoons. It was better than anything, just watching football and talking about football, watching highlights, and watching at that time, get this, Stephen, Kansas State football, because I grew up as a diehard Kansas State Wildcat fan. And the reason for that is because my parents actually both went to K-State. And a lot of my family, my grandpa, my family is so purple K-State, it's insane. So at that time, when I was growing up watching college game day, that was almost like the pinnacle of K-State football too. That was in the late 90s when they had Michael Bishop and they had a chance at a real national championship back in the late 90s. Bill Snyder was just getting going there. They were peaking, and it was so much fun to be a part of football. And in addition to that, at that time, my dad was a diehard K-State fan. We would go and watch any game that we could watch whenever they were on TV. But he took me to a couple bowl games too for K-State. I do remember going to the Fiesta Bowl. That was a K-State Syracuse Fiesta Bowl. And that was the first time K-State had ever been to a bowl game. And it was such a big deal in my family. And it was such a big deal for my dad that K-State rose from nothing, being the worst Power 4 team, to a great team, that I just love that. I love being a part of the growth. I loved seeing like what a team could achieve that wasn't necessarily a favorite. I loved how they almost peaked. They almost got there. They were number one in the nation in 1997, 1998 season. And it was just so much fun that I did fall in love with the sport. College football. I love all type of football, NFL football too, but college football in particular is the passion. And that's really the genesis, like going to those bowl games, watching games with my family, especially my dad, then also playing it little league level and watching it before cartoons or anything else. Those are the first memories that I have about football.
Yeah. So I was wondering about that because I always noticed the K-State flag behind you as well as the Utah flag. So yeah,
That's right.
K-State. So that was a question I was going to ask about your connection with Kansas State. So I'm glad you brought that up. So going into that, what was it that that made the change between from Kansas State to Utah? What was that like?
So, Steven, check this out. So, when I got into high school, I thought I was for sure going to go to K State. I'd really applied to three schools. Okay, I applied to Arizona State, K State, and the University of Utah. I grew up in Utah in Salt Lake City. We moved here when I was about 10 years old, and and at that time, it was a really tough decision. I was pretty immature and stuff, as like an 18-year-old kid. And I went with my dad and we took a trip out to Kansas State on a tour of the university. I hadn't like lived away like for 8, 10 years. We hadn't moved. So I really knew Salt Lake as my home. And when we were there, it just wasn't ready to make a move and go somewhere else. I kind of wanted to stay closer to home. He took me to his old frat house and everything and met a bunch of people over there. And like I thought for sure that I would have gone to K-State. But then I just decided to stay local. Like our family's here local too. So I decided to go to the University of Utah instead. And I wasn't a Utah fan before that. I was a K-State fan. And so like all my high school buddies before that, they knew me as a K-State fan, right? Nothing for Utah. I didn't like BYU much. And I can get into that on a tangent because that happened before I became a Ute, well before. But really, I went to the University of Utah and it happened to be like the perfect fire of when to go to that school. Like I mentioned to you, I love football before that. I've loved it since I've been like a small kid. And the first year at Utah happened to be the second year that Urban Meyer was the coach of Utah. So you might remember that. That was the BCS Buster year, the first BCS Buster year. So grow up a K-State fan, go to Utah, and all of a sudden freaking Utah's making their own rise, right? In football. And Urban Meyer's there, and the people are just so jazzed and jacked, which was shocking because at that time, right before that, like University of Utah was known as a basketball school. In 1998, the Utes made the national championship game in basketball. Everything was about basketball. All the momentum was around basketball, and football was a secondary afterthought. But there was a shift with the University of Utah at that time, right when I stepped on campus, with Urban Meyer changing everything. And that year is when really the football buzz grew at Utah and started. So I was right there on the ground floor and stuff when that started at Utah. So after that, so that season, Utah played Pitt in the Fiesta Bowl. So I got to go down to the Fiesta Bowl again with my fraternity at that time as a Ute fan, and all of us down there and just absolutely drilled Pitt and trolling the Pitt fans and having so much dang fun. And I fell in love with the University of Utah and football that time, specifically Utah football. And then since then, it's been pretty high times for the Utes, you know?
Yeah. So obviously, there was a lot of buzz about Utah football back then in those days, and even now. Um, so I might as well ask this: what are some of your favorite Utah Utes football games that you can remember? If you could put it down in like a list.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, like the 2008 football season was some of the best games. That was the undefeated season where Utah beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. Utah was still in the Mountain West at that time, but we had a dang good team with Brian Johnson as the QB. There were two games during that season that were absolutely wild, like epic. Oregon State at that time was a top 12, 15 team in the nation, perhaps even top 10. And they came to Utah. And at that time, when Utah was in the Mountain West, you just didn't get, P4 level teams coming there, right? And so they came there, they're highly ranked, and it was just a slugfest. And Utah led a game winning drive at the end and beat Oregon State by 3 points. And it just was bananas. And so I will always just because I was like finishing college, my undergraduate out at that time, it was so exciting to be a part of that and everything else. But during that same season, Utah was playing TCU. TCU Horned Frogs were in the Mountain West at that time too, with the University of Utah, and TCU had a dang good football team, a top 10 team as well. They came into Rice-Eccles Stadium at the University of Utah, and that game they had a jack defense. They were so good at so many positions, but their field goal kicker missed like 6 field goals. He missed like 6 field goals, and Utah was trailing late in the game-winning drive with about 5 seconds left, touchdown, and Utah pulls it out by 3, but they missed so many dang field goals. It was epic. There was so much momentum with that program. It was Kyle Whittingham's like second year, third year after Urban had left. And those were just some of the most fun games, like early in my Utah fanhood that I remember. Had a chance to go to the Rose Bowl, first time the Utes made it out in Pasadena. This was about in 2020, 21 versus Ohio State. That was a memorable experience. Been to a lot of games. I'm a season ticket holder for the Utes. So I can remember almost all the games, like all the BYU games, all the USC games. Those games are different though. When you play USC and BYU as a University of Utah fan, like there's just a little bit more vitriol. There's a little bit more dislike. Like rational people lose their freaking minds. Like a lot of Ute fans, pretty rational. But like you go and play versus BYU or versus like USC and you become like a freaking heathen vulture, man. This crazy stuff happens, right? So I remember all those games, but my favorite memories were back in the 2008 season I told you about.
Yeah. So, being a season ticket holder for Utah Utes football games, um, so my next question would be the atmosphere of the stadium itself that Utah plays in. Can you describe to me what that is like preparing for game day for a Utah Utes game? What is that like in Salt Lake City?
Yeah, so the funny thing about game days at Rice Eccles Stadium is like people have a preconception that tailgating in the state of Utah sucks because there's a lot of like LDS Mormon folks, right, that can't drink alcohol. And so there's this thought that a lot of people like, hey, like, well, the tailgate scene must suck at both schools. Look, half of the student body at the University of Utah is LDS, and half the fan base is too. But that doesn't stop the tailgate scene from being really, really elite. Actually, the University of Utah tailgate scene is big. It's pretty raucous, and it's a really good time, and it's just growing every year. And so the tailgate scene at a school like Utah versus a BYU is really kind of night and day. So that's the first thing that would surprise folks that come out, like especially Big 12 fans or Pac 12 fans from back in the day. When they'd come into town, they'd be surprised at the size and just like the passion of the tailgate, too. When you go in the stadium, especially for night games at the University of Utah, there just is a different type of buzz at night. Utah plays a lot of games, 8:15 local mountain time kickoff and stuff. So people are all lathered up after tailgating for hours, right? And they go into the stadium and there is just a certain type of feel in the air, this electricity that the people just lose their minds and go nuts during the games, especially during like any kind of close game, a big game, especially. You feel in the air, and it's just that like gives you chills almost when like Utah's come on the field and in the middle of the game, and it's loud as freaking crap. That's why like anytime you're playing any college football game, you'll see Rice Eccles as a top 20 stadium as far as crowd noise and everything and atmosphere because it's insanely loud. The stadium's kind of built right on top of you. The people are insane too. Utah-based people, like this whole state, from the Utah Jazz to the Utah Mammoth to BYU fans to Utah fans, they're loud, Stephen, like super, super loud. So it can get pretty dang deafening, and it's surprising for a lot of teams coming in that just don't really expect it. Especially when Utah was in the Pac-12, those teams at first did not expect that atmosphere. In the Big 12, that's changed, and it's seen as more of one of the harder places to play in the West, which it is. But it's changed, got more of a reputation. But it is really, really loud. It's got a really good buzz and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit about
So,
Rice Eccles.
yeah. Well, that's something my eye right there. Anyway, hold on a minute. Okay. Anyway, so going further here, Utah Utes. What is it about conferences that Utah has been in throughout their history, like the WAC, Mountain West Conference, Pac-12, but even now with the Big 12? Tell me, what have been the differences in your opinion especially when you started watching them play in all these conferences?
So I didn't watch a lot of Utah football when they're in the WAC, right? Watched a few games, but I don't have that great a feel. What I know of those old historical teams, Utah was pass happy. They weren't a physical football team. That changed with Urban Meyer and the coach before Urban Meyer too, especially under Kyle Whittingham. The Mountain West, I do remember because that's when I started going to Utah. I remember the Pac-12 very clearly, and I remember the Big 12. And the biggest difference between just a step up in competition, obviously from the Mountain West to the P5 level, at that time, was just like the buzz with the opponents. Like sometimes when Utah was in the Mountain West Conference, unless it was like a highly ranked game and stuff, um, whether it was away or home, like it would be a sellout and everything. But when you're playing a school like an Air Force, it just doesn't really have the buzz like or a New Mexico that when you get a school in like a USC coming to town. Just think about that. Like if Ohio's bringing USC versus Air Force.
Right, right.
Right. or Ohio State. Like you would say you go to Ohio State at Ohio Stadium, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's just the magnitude of opponent, like just that big feel and stuff from moving from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. And there were some great teams in the Mountain West too. And when you get a great team coming in, that buzz would be there, and juice would be there and stuff. But it was bad exposure wise too, Steve. And like in the Mountain West Conference, there was another year. This might have been in 2010 when Utah was ranked number 5 in the nation. TCU coming to Rice Eccles, the number 3 team in the nation. Okay, you get number 3 versus number 5, undefeated game. It's not on ESPN. It's not on FS1. It's not on Fox. It's not on ABC. It was broadcast on the old Mountain Regional Channel. A 3 versus 5 game, dude. Like, are you serious? A 3 versus 5 game. It was horrid, horrendous exposure, right? So nobody
Right.
saw you. That's what I remember too. How upsetting it was and stuff. It's like this is an easy ABC game and everything, but just the disrespect that a lot of like the G5, G6 teams get when they've got great teams. I remember that, and you probably feel that all the time. I'm sure.
I still
Still,
do. Yeah. Yeah. So I asked that question because of stuff going on with conference realignment right now. It's still all the buzz at this point with college football, and we talk about it all the time on our channels. So I might as well
yeah.
segue into that. Um, in your honest opinion, WildUte, uh, what are your thoughts on the future of college football, college sports in general? Where do you see it going, like within a few years from now, especially considering stuff like, for example, NIL, transfer portal, and even the college football playoff?
I think that it's changed the game. I think that it's no longer about development. That's a secondary aspect of college football. It's about your pay. And then once your pay is set, then you can develop, consider development. But like it's a money game right now, Steven. Like it really is. If you got a billionaire booster, you're set. Texas Tech, you're set. You think Texas Tech would be landing 5-star kids if they didn't have a billionaire booster? Have they ever before? No. Like, and so it's just a freaking what college sports is right now, what college football is. It is the Major League Baseball without a official draft. It's a freaking cluster, man. Like, and it's so freaking upsetting to like see the sport that I loved and like it was all about development. And you can make a 2 or 3 star player into a 4 or 5 star player. That doesn't exist anymore because every time that you get a lower recruit like that you're building up, they're going to transfer somewhere for a bag. So it's there's no guardrails, there's no rules, and I hate that. I hate that because it changes the way that you have to compete. It's no longer just about having great coaching staffs or having a great program. You have to have the bag to even play. So
Yeah.
I don't like that. Like in the transfer portal, you can jump whenever you want, day to day and stuff. I don't like these things that are happening in the sport. I think that it ruins the competitiveness of the game and like the idea of like building a team, building a Cinderella team. And I don't think it's changing though. Like it's the House settlement came into play because there was a lost court case at the Supreme Court level because of the O'Bannon trial. And look, college players deserve to make money, especially in NIL. I just think that there needs to be more regulations around that. Some things are happening with the CSC, that's the College Sports Commission, and the Deloitte Clearinghouse to try to protect things. So you can't just throw $10 million out like your rival's quarterback to get him to transfer over without a legit NIL deal backing it, because that's the kind of garbage that needs to be taken out of the game. Because otherwise, the billionaires will rule. They'll rule all the time. Like if you've got $1 billion, like anyone could fund a roster. We're going to see $100 million roster soon. We're already seeing 40, 50, $60 million rosters. We're getting real close to $100 million roster. There could be, in theory, a roster that's more expensive than an NFL roster because there's no salary cap. And so this kind of stuff is insane to me. I hate it all, but you got to play with it. And like I love the sport so much that I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to talk it. I'm still going to be passionate about it, but I just don't like the way it's trending because it's like an ugly version of stupid baseball.
Yeah. And, speaking of baseball, I've had my issues with Major League Baseball for a long time. I used to be a big fan of baseball before I became, a college football enthusiast. So I can
Are you a
understand
Guardians
that.
guy?
No, I used to be more of a Cincinnati Reds kind of guy. So
Ooh,
yeah, so tough, tough, just to say that.
stuff.
Yeah. So uh, further furthering this college football playoff. Uh,
Yeah.
as a follow-up question, obviously the Power Four conferences, they're doing what they're doing, getting these auto bids, trying to get these auto bids going, and then you see way over there in the corner the Group of Six conferences just struggling to get by. Um, do you think, in general, do you think that the Group of Six should continue to have access to the college football playoff going forward?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. I think I think there needs to be more consolidation in the group of six. And I think that there needs to be really two or three main conferences, and there should be an auto bid and maybe a mini playoff amongst those conferences to get into the CFP. And if it expands out again, there should be two G6 spots. If it expands to, especially if we're going to 20 or 24, 100%. Like, come on. Like, this isn't just like the Super League yet. I mean, I know that they're trying to push that. But we're not there yet. Like, we're trying to push back. And guess what? Like, it's not like it's that great in the Big 12. Like, the Utes are stuck in the Big 12 at the moment, right? Like, you get one automatic qualifier. They're going to try to push you out if you're an at-large team at all costs and stick 5 or 6 SEC teams in. And so, like, you get one spot. You watch what happens this year and stuff. They're going to try to kick BYU and Utah right on the threshold, right out of that sucker. They're going to be the first teams out. It's probably going to be Utah this year. And Notre Dame's going to get in, and a 3-loss Bama or whoever, right? Or Miami jumps them because of brand name. And so I'm just sick of that. I want to see more auto bids. And I want to take it away from a stupid committee that's biased and look at dumb metrics and stuff and looks at helmets rather than what's going on the field and like all this narrative game about politicking for at-large spots. I want to see most of the playoff be auto bids for league champions. That's what I want to see. I want to see multiple for G6. I want to see multiple for Big 12, multiple for SEC, multiple for Big 10 with just limited committee selections. No more committee. I'm sick of the committee. I'm sick of playing these games and stuff. And the Big 12 gets screwed all the time, just like the G6. We're no better. For reals, like if you're in the Big 10 conference, if you're in the SEC, you've got all the advantages, you've got all the juice, you've got the brand name behind you. But it drives me absolutely nuts, the current system at 12 with the committee making 7 at-large spots decisions after 5 auto bids. I think that's criminal. I think it's crazy.
yeah. I ask that because in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking that there could be a scenario one year where one of the Power Four conferences, whichever one it is, they're just having a really down year. They're losing like quite a few games, even the champion of that conference. And then you might have 2 or 3 uh, G6 conference champions that may have just like one loss each. So it gets to be such an really complicated scenario there. That's just
And like once, if you go down the route where you're trying to compare resumes with like a G6 one loss versus a 3 or 4 loss SEC team, like once you made the decision one time to leave the G6 out, that sets the precedent. Like when's that going to change unless a G6 team goes undefeated? Like it's just not going, it's going to make it more difficult to get in the playoff if there starts to be a narrative to move away from like automatic bursts for the G6. The same for the Big 12. Again, like the Big 12 is is at a huge disadvantage. A
yeah,
huge. I mean, like Steven, there's only one bid last year. Arizona State's the only team that got in. Texas Tech is likely the only team that's going to get in this year. Like for how good that league is, it's criminal to have 2 spots in 2 years, man. Like it sucks. And that's why like it is frustrating to be in the Big 12 conference. Okay? Like
yeah,
and there's a lot of Ute fans have squawked against being in the Big 12. Great people in the Big 12. Like there's a lot of momentum in the Big 12, but the perception is the issue. The perception is you're a one bid league. The perception is you're half or a third of the league of the SEC and the Big 10. And it's hard to compete and build your brand when you're in the Big 12 versus getting into one of those 2 major conferences. That's why so many teams are trying to push whatever they can, chips all on the table to get in them, because you need to build the brand that way. You need the exposure. You need the talking heads talking about you. You need to get more at-large spots because of the brand names, because of the conference backing and stuff. And when you're a school like Utah and a lot of other schools in the ACC and the Big 12, you just are not at the advantage of other schools in these other big conferences.
Yeah. So going back to you, WildUte, I already asked Bomber this question when I had him as my special guest, but I might as well ask you this: the college football mafia. From your perspective, your side of the story, how did the college football mafia get started? How did everything get going there?
Yeah, so the college football mafia originated from. So I want to tell you how college football mafia originated and how I got involved in the college football mafia.
Okay.
So Nathan Bomber Brown, my partner, was looking for a Ute counterpart to do a BYU Utah podcast. And this was just going to be the Holy Rivals. That's what we're going to call it. And we're just going to talk about BYU Utah content. Utah was still in the Pac-12. BYU was in the Big 12. There was demand, we thought, for that too. And that channel got going. We recorded several videos, and we realized pretty soon after that our interests were kind of aligning to more news, more realignment based stuff. And we kind of started delving into a different direction that was just away from Utah and BYU content. That's how the channel started. How I got found by Nate and how he even reached out to me is because I'm a realignment psycho. Dude, I love realignment so much. I love more realignment more than anybody, probably outside of Gold and Blue Dude. Rest in peace. He loved realignment too, right? But I would watch everything. I remember during the pandemic, like there just wasn't a lot of content on realignment on YouTube or anywhere else. And I would sit there and I would Google search, like trying to get any articles about like what conference realignment, what's going on and everything. And there just wasn't a lot. And that's where I found Greg Flugar and peek around the corner, right? Greg Flugar had a pretty big ex Twitter account and everything where he posts like more rumors for realignment and everything. I heard about that. I found him and he started a channel, Peek Around the Corner. And he started talking about more backdoor, like the news, like realignment based stuff. And I loved that channel. It was my favorite channel. Listen to every live show. And I was one of the first callers to call in to Peek Around the Corner because I just loved that content and everything else. And that's where Nate actually heard me call in on Peek Around the Corner. And he found me, reached out, and we actually formed our own thing. But I would never have had a chance to have any type of platform without calling in to Peek Around the Corner. And that's the same story for Moan. Moan was the original caller at Peek Around the Corner. I think I was like second or third. And Becky on our channel too was one of the top three. So we were calling in all the time. We were psycho about college football, realignment news and stuff. We liked it so much that we basically formed our own channel. So that's how I got into this. Like, and it moved from a Utah BYU to more of like a national realignment base because that's really where the interests were. And that's how I got going into this business.
Very interesting how things start out, huh? So,
right?
yeah.
Like I did not expect to be in this. I'm not a broadcaster. I'm in the finance world. That's where all my education is. That's where all my experience is. I just love football. I love talking football. My wife gets sick of me talking about football. She doesn't want to hear about football. My friends don't love football as much as me. I need to find a community. And I kind of found that in Peek Around the Corner. And that's the opportunity I got to start the channel.
Yeah.
Hey.
So you were nicknamed the Professor. I'm just curious about this. How did that come about? How did people start calling you the Professor? Because I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so I adopted that name probably about a year ago, a year and a half ago. And people started calling me the Professor because I would put a lot of different educational modeling videos, like financial modeling videos out. That was like realignment based, but actually had like numbers and like evidence behind it. And so, and I also, since I work in the finance industry, I know a lot about different financial concepts. And I can talk money things really easily, which is kind of unique for YouTube and this community and stuff. It's just where my experience is. There's not a lot of people that have that experience. And so I found myself doing a lot of videos, YouTube videos, live streams where I'm doing more educational based, like talking about numbers based stuff, like more educational than like entertaining, but educational, right? Like it's like, let me deliver like kind of a lesson and stuff. And I just navigated towards that. So that's where I got the moniker professor. The
Yeah.
professor, like you're going like, yeah, you're going to like the university, right? Or whatever. And at first I was just like, that's horrible, and that's, but then I realized like, whatever, I'll be Professor Welch. I like it now. I hated it at first.
Yeah. I was just curious because I regularly watch College Football Mafia, and
Yeah.
I come across the research, the videos that you make, such as when you put up stats and all the
Hmm.
charts and graphs. Amazing stuff, by the way, man. So, uh,
Thank you.
about that, asking a question about that, how do you go about determining, okay, this is an important thing I want to highlight in this video. This is a graph and chart I want to use. How do you go about doing that?
We're sausage making discussion. How deep into the sausage making do you want to go, Mr. Vitt?
At least if you can put it in a nutshell.
So usually like amazing thing about being on social media, it has its warts, a ton of warts. And like you get trolled a lot, especially doing this type of stuff. It's insane. But you actually get a feel for like what's interesting to you and what people like. And I think as like a content creator, you need to align your interests with what people want to watch, right? Like, and if you can find that connection, then you've got something there. You've got a piece of content that's going to be probably pretty successful. And so a lot of the stuff that I make is because I had interest in that, and there were questions or there was discussion around a certain type of topic that I kind of just said, hey, I can speak into this a little bit more. And then I do my own research and put out a video. And just getting a feel for what people really want and like what's kind of a hole missing that is in your line of maybe expertise or your line of passion. And I find a lot of that stuff, especially when I first started out, I found a lot on social media because that's like just the place where a billion ideas are just like getting thrown out all the time. Um, as content creators, though, you probably found this too. There's actually great tools that are for that too. Like on YouTube. On YouTube, there's different tools you can find. Like, for example, the inspirations tab. Do you know what that is?
Inspirations tab. Yeah, I think I may have used that once or twice before.
Yeah, so basically looks at your subscribers and what videos they care about, what videos they're watching, what kind of content do they want to see, and like for the people that subscribe to you. And lucky for us on our channel, a lot of the folks, I mean, they're all college football fans, so we've got one box checked there and stuff, but a lot of it's realignment or a lot of it's analytical. There's just a billion ideas that you can get from those type of tools that it's not difficult to make content people want to watch as long as you use tools. Like it really is very easy to do, but most people don't care about that. Most people that are content creators just want to do what they want to do. And they don't necessarily think about the end listener, their entertainment, the value driven to the end listener. And I think that the tools that you can kind of use, like inspirations and stuff, tell you what the end user really wants and how to make a successful video. And like for the algorithm on YouTube and what people actually search for and like optimizing things, I think that's absolutely critical. Like on YouTube today, if you want to make any content that people really are passionate about, you got to be interested. You got to love it. You got to have fun, but you got to make something that people care about too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Because being a content creator myself, I'm always trying to come up with interesting topics to talk about that's relevant. And I use, various tools, graphic design tools to illustrate my points. So I totally understand what it takes to do stuff like that. So,
It's
uh,
crazy
so
to me, like how people though, like some people in the space, like have a hard time thinking of ideas for videos. Everyone's built differently and stuff. Like I'm good at some stuff, I'm bad at others, but like for idea, just like ideas, at any time I've got like 100 different ideas for videos. It's not a challenge just because like in the places that I go and the information I consume, there's just nuggets kind of everywhere that where you're just getting hints. and like, again, nuggets that people want to listen to. And like the tools, again, AI based tools, if you want to go externally, like a chat GPT or wherever platform you want to go, you can get more ideas and stuff, how to build a successful YouTube channel, and like on how to get hits, like on a video, even if you don't have a ton of subs and everything, you can optimize content basically for something that you like and that people want to listen to. So that's what's cool about YouTube. You can make something, you don't have to be anybody. Like I'm a nobody, right? Like you can just make content and people will find it if it's good, if it's titled right and it's packaged right and everything. That's so cool about this platform.
Yep. So going back to research and stats and graphs and charts, uh, I've noticed, at least briefly, when I watch College Football Mafia, there have been some videos related to the MAC, Mid American Conference. Um, what are you, just a quick question? What are your thoughts on the MAC as a conference when it comes to finances, economics, and in your opinion, Utes, uh, what do you think the MAC has to do going forward to basically better themselves as a conference? What do they need to do?
Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. They need to consolidate, and they need to merge with a conference like the Mountain West, the Pac-12, or the American. Like, I know that's hard, and MAC people kill me for that take. But like, if I'm gonna be honest with you and stuff, that's how I kind of see it. Because you're talking about finances, you play games, like you do have that little pocket in the middle of the week and stuff where you're playing on Wednesdays, Tuesday night football games. But just not enough finances in this day and age to make that viable, especially in the NIL era and everything. I just don't think that the idea of these regional conference and like I just don't know if they're going to be successful in the long term. So it's almost like I mean, like it's almost like there needs to be more realignment with the top brands in the G6 create like basically the super G6. And so if those schools want to be successful in football in the long term and play where you can win possibly playoff games, get into the playoffs, I think that needs to happen more. I think there needs to be more consolidation amongst the G6. And so a conference like the American, the MAC, the PAC, the Mountain West and stuff, I don't know the future of those. I mean, the finances are tough. It's expensive, man, to like have a football team and everything. And if you look even like at the Pac-12s, like it sounds like they're going to get 10 million bucks per school per year, like, and compared to what Oregon State and Wazoo were making before, I mean, you can see what's happened to the programs. Like they've just lost a lot. Just can't be competitive. So I want to see more success, but I think the only way you see more success at the G6 level is through top brand integration.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, like seriously,
yeah,
yeah.
I can understand. I can definitely understand where you're coming from when it comes to that. Last couple of years I've had gone back and forth about what's going on with the MAC and what they should be doing. And again, I'm not surprised by what happened lately with Northern Illinois making that jump from the MAC to the Mountain West. I don't blame them for doing that. So, because they look at the bottom line, the money issue. So, and it's just, I won't be surprised if there are others following suit, like Toledo and other MAC schools trying to get out as well.
Well,
I
you
mean,
gotta, if you don't do that, if you don't consider jumping over to the Mountain West to the Pac where there's more money, like how how can you be competitive in FBS football? And like because the money gap even amongst the SEC, Big 10 and Big 12 is so great, they're basically going to leave in Big 12 behind a little bit, right? And it's insane, like they're making 2 or 3 times as much as Big 12 schools. Like how can you field a competitive team and stuff without $1 billion booster? Maybe that's just it. Maybe some MAC teams have $1 billion boosters that can just fund up the rosters and create a Gonzaga. Maybe that's what we see in the future. But if not, then yeah, like what's the school? What are the places in college football and stuff for G6, for Big 12, for ACC? If you can't get in like the top two elite conferences, I think everyone's trying to figure that out. Like, how do you thrive under that? And it's tough. And like in my mind's eye, that's why I talked a lot about ACC and Big 12 consolidation too. I think that more consolidation needs to happen, because if you've got a chance to make more, to be more competitive with the biggest boys in the biggest leagues, I think that you have to do that. And like, and
Yeah.
it's because it's about the dollars, man.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And just earlier this year, we started hearing rumors, and for now they're just rumors, but they're out there. We started hearing rumors about the Ohio Bobcats. Ohio University may be considering jumping to this Sun Belt conference eventually. So, and honestly, I hope there's truth to those rumors because I'm not liking what I'm seeing from the MAC right now when it comes to economics. So,
And like, the tough thing is, it's hard to see like a big shift or change, right? Like
right.
maybe Mac, maybe if you did a private capital, private equity deal, or there might be some levers you could push and stuff. But the way that these broadcast partners are going, the way that the game's going, it's just like, it's so hard to compete. And like,
Yeah.
and so for a school like Ohio, considering jumping the Mountain West or the Pac or the American or whatever, I would imagine there's probably a lot of folks in like the Ohio fan base that probably want to make a push for like the American or something, and trying to get
Yeah.
into a conference like the American. Just like, schools in the Big 12 are trying to push for the Big 10. You're trying to get above ground, right?
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, the rumor is, maybe thinking about going to the Sun Belt Conference, but even the Sun Belt would be a jump up compared to the MAC. So,
Is it really that case though? Like when I think of the Sun Belt and the MAC, I think of the MAC as a better conference than the Sun Belt. But if you're looking at the finances, are they so different that the Sun Belt's like a driver in the finances?
I mean, that's what it seems like, but I don't know for sure because I'm not an economics expert.
Yeah, like when I'm thinking of like MAC schools, I'm thinking Ohio, I'm thinking of Toledo. Northern Illinois made their decision and stuff. But you've got Western Michigan. Those are probably like the three, right? The biggest three and stuff in the MAC that probably have the ability to move. I mean, if you're not one of those three in the MAC, I mean, there's not really a lot you can do, right? You kind of along for the ride. But a school like Ohio, again, Toledo, I can't believe Toledo has not jumped over to the Mountain West. I've got actually a standing bet with Moen on the College Football Mafia channel that Toledo jumps with NIU to the Mountain West. He thinks I'm insane. He's like, you don't understand the state politics. You would understand it more than me. Yes, I live in Utah. I don't understand Ohio-based state politics. But to me, it makes sense, like for a school like Ohio or Toledo to make that jump.
Yeah. I mean, I hear that a lot from Moen. It's like, oh, state politics of Ohio. I do think they would have input, but I'm just saying when push comes to shove, if the MAC is like a sinking ship, I mean, why wouldn't schools like Ohio, Toledo, any other school in that state would consider jumping to another conference? So,
It's like irresponsible if you don't try to make that move. Like
right.
if you are in charge and like you're on the board of trustees for Ohio, like, and you're not trying to pull those things, like that's like a fail. Like that's not even like it can't even be a second thought. I think that you're always trying to get above ground. I don't like the fact that that's the way the sport's going, but with NIL, how it is, with a move towards just funding rosters, like we've talked about, that's the ramifications. That's what's caused all the realignment. It's just like trying to get as much money as possible to fund basically super rosters. And when you don't have a ton of money, it's just hard to compete.
Right. So, um, I do have one more question before we
Sure.
wrap this up, and this will go back to content creation.
Okay.
For anybody that's wanting to start a YouTube channel, no matter what it is about, whether it's college sports or anything else, uh, Phillip Price, WildUte, what advice would you give people wanting to start their own YouTube channels?
Do it and have fun. If you don't like doing it, if you're not having fun, then it's going to be a miserable ride. Like when I do content, Steven, it's not a second job for me. Like I make a little bit of money, not a lot doing this, but like I love doing it. This is how I want to spend my free time because I love talking with people like you that have like a shared thoughts, right, about college football. These are my people, right? So you better freaking love what you do if you're going to get in front of it all the time because it's a slog if not, right? And like in the other thing we talked about it before, but I'm serious about this. Like, you can make content about underwater basket weaving, and maybe there's a market for that. Maybe some people would like that if that's your passion stuff. But you better do some due diligence and figure out, out of the pocket, what people want to watch. Because if you want to make just the stuff that you love and stuff, and you're not considering what the end user wants to consume, you're screwed. There's a billion different videos to choose from. You better make something that's interesting for other people that you love talking about.
Yeah, that's great. And what a way to wrap this up, because it's been a long journey for me making
Yeah.
content creation just this year alone. So every time I can hear stuff like that, advice like that, it makes me nod my head and say yeah. So with that, thank you so much, Philip Price, WildUte, for telling your story, being a college football fan and everything else that you're doing. Yeah, and thank you, everybody out there, for listening to this interview. Thank you so much for listening to episode 20 of Stephen Interviews You. And we will be back eventually with more interview related content. Stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much. Take care. Goodbye.